into Brevard County, and again, most of the heavy activity right now offshore, but as we go through the evening hours, more rain will continue to come in and off the Atlantic Ocean as Matthew gets closer and closer. Right now, I want to go ahead and bring in Glenn Richards. Glenn's been following the storm, and he has the latest advisory, the 8 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Glenn, go ahead.
All right, that's right, Brooks. Again, right now, it looks like the center of the system, again, if you can go to the other weather computer, Weather 3, again, showing the center of the hurricane right now, still located out towards the Bahamas. And again, that center does continue to push off to the north and to the northwest. So again, on weather computer number 3, WEX 3, that'd be great. Thank you very much. There it is, working its way still along that line. So again, the brand new advisory does indicate that the winds are down to 130 miles per hour. And as Brooks has mentioned, the big weather story, at least right now in the short term, continues to be this funneling of very heavy rain out through Volusia and Seminole counties. We are getting some street flooding already reported, with already over 2 inches of rain down. And again, it's just started, and the main core is still, of course, located back out across the Bahamas. In our 3D volume scan, you see the heaviest rain now just to the west of Altamont Springs, going into Lake Mary, extending right into Apopka, also back out towards Zellwood. That is where we have the heaviest rain currently coming down. Again, the winds are now 130. Movement is officially northwest at 13 miles per hour. The track is the same. We'll get a brand new forecast track from the Hurricane Center coming out at 11 o'clock for this evening. So right now it is moving still towards the Cape. Nothing has changed. Here are the current wind speeds: 78 miles per hour currently across the west end of Grand Bahama Island, 28 miles per hour across the West Palm Beach area, 22 also up towards Melbourne. Remember, we've been talking about this, how the center of circulation indicates where, again, the strongest winds will be found on the east and northeast side. But on the west side of this hurricane, and all hurricanes are unique into their own, right now it looks like the winds on the west side drop off rapidly. So they kind of ease off on the east side and northeast side, but they really drop off rapidly on the west side, which means good news. It means that potentially some of these stronger winds may not be carried as far inland. We just had a little gust a little while ago near 90 miles per hour along the west end of, again, Grand Bahama Island, 48 miles per hour over in West Palm, and 31 degrees across the Brevard County coastline. Rainfall totals excessive. We're already, as I mentioned, seeing over 2 inches of rain in portions of Orange and also through Seminole County, and we're still forecasting an additional 5 to 12 inches of rain. So overall, by the time this thing completely moves out of the picture by tomorrow evening, it looks like some of the areas will be definitely dealing with some flooding, especially east of Orlando. How about the timing once again? Any revision on that? Well, this just got updated also a little while ago. Latest computer model run showing the center of circulation moving ashore or very near the shoreline at about 4:30 in the morning now. It looks like in Brevard County, back around the Cocoa Beach, Satellite Beach area, extending back over towards the port. Winds would be right around 100 miles per hour right near that eye. As soon as you go inland, though, again, they're going to drop off pretty good. But right now, expecting 70 mile per hour winds at that time through portions of Osceola County. Then as we get towards around 6 o'clock in the morning, the center of circulation will be sitting right over towards the Cape. Also notice that it has slowed down. So we are expecting in the long term for it to kind of put on the brakes a little bit as it approaches the coast, go slowly up the coast through tomorrow morning and early afternoon, and then accelerate and move away. Unfortunately, it's going to slow down over us. But at about 6 a.m., that's when the stronger winds will be hitting the downtown area. At 8 a.m., we will be in the peak of the storm, the peak, the maximum of this hurricane. We talked about it yesterday. 8 a.m. would be the peak. It still looks like that is going to be the case. 8 o'clock in the morning, sits right over towards the Cape, and then there's that slow turn to the north through Volusia County. Your strongest winds in Volusia will be occurring between 6 a.m. and, as you can see, 11 o'clock in the morning. The winds will still be strong in Metro Orlando, but the winds will start to definitely relax a little bit coming in from the west in the Brevard County area by 1:30 in the afternoon. Still powerful winds hitting Flagler County and through Volusia County, inland Volusia County, also through Seminole County. But the winds will start to ease up in Metro Orlando as we head towards about noon or so. Then as we go through the afternoon, you can see the powerful winds are sitting off of Flagler County, and then the winds over overall start to ease up as we head towards 6 to 7 o'clock for tomorrow evening. So it's pretty quick in getting here. We're already getting these rain bands, but looking at this, you can obviously see when it comes to the wind, we'll still be dealing with the wind for the most part through the afternoon. More heavy rain will be hitting the coastline as we head towards around 1 o'clock in the morning. You see this big band is expected to move in, and then the main core of rain and wind and surge combined will hit at about 4:30 in the morning. I don't know if you noticed, though, too, here, again, it looks like, Charles and Bob, that if we had a system coming in from the other direction, the wind direction would be hitting the coast from the south. So no storm surge, of course, at all, but because this is coming up from the due south, again, we're getting a direct effect of that east wind that is piling up the storm surge. And right now, the latest forecast, guys, on that storm surge still expected to be about 7 to as high as 11 feet. And on top of that, we could have waves now, it looks like, up to 15 feet in height.
Glenn, thank you, sir. A quick programming note for everybody. If you want to watch our primetime shows that normally air at 8 and 9, that being Rosewood and Pitch, we have moved all of that over to My 65. So you can either keep it here with us for the latest on the storm, or you can watch the Fox programming that normally airs at 8 and 9 over on My 65.
And believe us, we will not be heard. We understand every once in a while you need a little bit of a mental break away from it.
And you took one.
I took a little one, yeah. And Sonny's taking hers right now. So
right.
Is just get a little pizza, throw some groceries down our neck, and then off we go. Yeah. When last we checked in with Holly Bristow, she was in full gear. She was ready for it, and she is ready for it right now. It looks like you're getting a little bit of a break. The hoodie is not even on right now, Holly.
Yeah, I probably should have it on because I think the back of my head's getting a little wet. We've definitely got a little bit of a drizzle going on here, and it seems like the wind is picking up because every now and then I'll find myself kind of on my toes, a little unsure of my footing over here, and I'm getting splashed by some of the waves that are coming up over here. We are along the Intercoastal. We're in O'Galley, just south of the bridge where the Indian River meets the Banana River. And I can tell you that this is a river that I grew up water skiing and wakeboarding on. So typically at the right time of day, it's pretty glassy, and you don't typically see big white caps out here unless you're getting a big storm like we are right now. The waves that are rolling in here off of the Intercoastal are big enough that if I had a boogie board, I'd be having a pretty good time out here, but it wouldn't be safe at all. But I mean, these are definitely big waves that you're not used to seeing coming from the east and crashing in over here. We came over the bridge around 6 o'clock tonight, and we were getting blown around a little bit when we were coming over from Satellite Beach. And there were a few people on the bridge. I've been keeping my eye on it at this point. The wind has definitely kicked up significantly, and I think people do realize that because I haven't seen anybody come over the O'Galley Bridge in quite some time. When we were over in Satellite Beach earlier, I did mention to you guys that I was talking to a police officer. He said that officers will be on the roads as long as it is safe for them. But once their cars start getting blown around, they're all going to be going in for the night and settling in at the Satellite Beach Police Department. And here's the thing that I did find very surprising. He told me that probably only about a third of the people that live in Satellite Beach evacuated. So that means that there's a city full of people over there on the other side of the bridge that are in their homes, hopefully watching us and paying attention to the storm and being safe, but that made that decision to not follow the mandatory evacuation and decided to stay in their homes tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. God bless them. I hope everybody's okay with this storm. It's definitely picking up, and people be safe out there.
Holly Bristow, thank you much. Stay safe.
And we're seeing all the lights behind Holly. We'll see how long those lights continue to last as the evening progresses. Keep it right here, Fox 35. We will continue our coverage of Hurricane Matthew.
All right, everybody, you are watching continuous coverage here on the Fox 10 and News Now stream, part of fox10phoenix.com. We'll get you back out to our sister station in Orlando when they come back from their break right now. Latest update, the Bahamas National Emergency Management Agency says authorities have rescued at least 30 people who were trapped in their homes by floodwaters from Hurricane Matthew on the island of New Providence. There has been extensive flooding across the island, but no reports of any deaths or injuries. The island includes the capital of Nassau. And stick right here to fox10phoenix.com, part of Fox 10 News Now. If you haven't already done so, now would be the perfect time. hit that like button if you're watching on Facebook Live, and if you're watching on fox10phoenix.com, what we ask you to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll always be in the know of when we are covering breaking news anywhere across the country. And for these next 2 days at least, we are going to be covering extensively for you Hurricane Matthew as it gets closer to the Florida coast here. And right now, more than 100 people have died because of Hurricane Matthew across the Caribbean. And right now it is steaming towards Florida with potentially catastrophic winds of more than 140 miles per hour. 2 million people across the southeast have been warned to flee inland. Governor Rick Scott saying earlier today on a news conference we covered for you right here on Fox 10, this storm's a monster. Hurricane was expected to blow ashore or come dangerously close to doing so. West Palm Beach has about 1.1 million people. Let's get you back out right now to our sister station, Fox 35 in Orlando, covering extensively Hurricane Matthew coming close.
Now they see whether or not the fruits of their labor, whether or not those boards are going to hold as Matthew comes ashore.
We certainly hope so, Bob. Of course, many businesses boarded up yesterday and evacuated, but some did not take the precautions. Look at this unprotected glass. Of course, business owners are very concerned about losing money if Hurricane Matthew hits hard. We talked to the president of the Chamber of Commerce here in Palm Bay. This is what he had to say.
Ma'am, it's a very big concern. People are getting really nervous and scared because they don't know when they will be able to open the businesses back. And so I think we need a lot of support from FEMA and FPL to restore power. That's the biggest concern. So without power, none of the business will be able to perform properly.
And we actually met an FP&L crew earlier today. They were from South Carolina. They say they're here on standby to restore power as soon as it goes out. Live in Palm Bay, Valerie Boy, back to you.
Valerie Boy, thank you very much. Even it looks like the storm has yet to really make an impact there in the Palm Bay area, but that's not true all around the case.
That's right. We're going to go over to Cocoa Beach. Daryl Nail is there for us, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about what's going on at his location. Daryl, what you got?
Good evening, and you can see here I'm at the edge of Cape Canaveral where the winds are not too bad at the moment. It is, of course, dark and black, so there's not a whole lot that we can show you in terms of the ocean off in the distance, but we can show you some interesting piece of hardware that is here that we found that is staged, and that is a weather station, a portable weather station. This will be familiar, of course, to weathermen. You can see the wind gauge up at the top, taking the wind data from the area, which is probably clocking around 20 miles, maybe 15 to 20 miles per hour at the current moment. But these stations have been anchored in. As you look down, it is transmitting its weather data. It is in a temporary location here in Cape Canaveral, and you can see it's ratcheted down. There's a bolt at the bottom. It's drilled into the ground. And this thing is going to stay here and transmit weather data. We do know that teams from the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Association are here. They are monitoring with various stations the weather data coming in as Hurricane Matthew comes close to the coast here. So this is part of their information gathering in addition to all the weather data that we currently have. Also, an update as far as the water is concerned here along the barrier islands in Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, and Merritt Island. They meaning the city of Cocoa and its utilities department, you probably heard earlier, cut off the water to the barrier islands, were announced to cut off around 6 p.m. That did not happen, as those who have stayed back realize their water is still working. There was a lot of pushback from organizations in and around the area, especially first responders, about that call, and they have convinced Cocoa Utilities to back off on that and keep the water line open to the barrier islands for the time being and only cut it off once the storm comes ashore and becomes a very serious threat to the water supply here. So again, that water cutoff that was announced by the City of Cocoa Water Department now has been relaxed, and they are now waiting until a point in time in which it is appropriate to cut off the water when the storm is imminent and actually threatening the water supply here. A quick note about our position, because when we broadcast, and I'm here in Cape Canaveral, and certain people see that, we get messages concerned about our safety, which we greatly appreciate. My photographer, Keith Brown, and myself, we are just a couple blocks away from a secure location at a facility that's not too far away with first responders. We are hunkering down with them at a very safe facility that is hurricane hardened. Out of Cape Canaveral, Daryl Nail, Fox 35 News.
Daryl, thank you much. As I was watching Daryl do that last shot, I was struck by the thought that the sort of the irony of it. Those rocket scientists out there at Cape Canaveral probably pass by that weather station every single day as they make their way to work on the next generation of shuttles and the Orion and all the high-tech rockets that they work on. Probably don't even give that thing a second thought. And right now, that anemometer or whatever it is the most important piece of equipment out there on the Cape right now. They're looking at it going, oh, God bless you for being here.
Irony.
Irony, yes, absolutely.
So let's go over to Glenn Richards. So I'm sure you're not going to tell us anything ironic.
I'm going to do my best not to. Yeah, our forecast here going to be changing definitely about every 10 minutes or so as the center of the system of Matthew continues to move towards us. We've been watching the eye just kind of wobbling along this main line. So again, as long as it stays along this line, it looks like it will, in fact, move ashore over at the Cape. Now, if it starts to dip a little bit below this line, then we could actually have landfall occurring somewhere along the central to southern Brevard County coastline. If it goes north of this line over time, it could just graze the coast and never officially make landfall and move ashore. But again, that's going to mean huge implications. It's not just a technical thing like, oh, it made landfall or not. It makes a huge difference when it comes to the wind. Even 20 to 30 miles is huge, because remember, on the western edge of this eye, the winds really do drop off rapidly. However, we're noticing just over the last couple of hours, if you watch this dry pocket kind of get filled back in again with rain, and so we've got a lot of wind here on the northeastern eye wall. We also have a very nice big band shaping up right there. You kind of see it pivoting around. So this is a very potent hurricane, and if the wind field starts to expand, which it should, but it has to be over the waters long enough to get everything rolling. And you kind of have to think of it as you've got this inner core going around, and to make the outer areas go, it needs time. It needs friction to get the outer parts going too, and it takes time for it to do that. And so when it moved across the Haiti and went across Cuba, it kind of disrupted that overall large flow, that large wind field. So again, it was a real small wind field again as it moved through the Bahamas. Strong, still 140 miles per hour, but just a small little area. But again, it's trying to expand back out again. We hope it doesn't have enough time to do that, because that would, of course, increase the odds of hurricane force winds getting into Orlando. Live radar right now, again, heavy rain. You can see stretching through Seminole and also through Lake counties. There has not been any real rotating storms. We've been watching that also very closely on our radial velocity mode within our radar system, and not finding any rotating storms, which is great news. So no threat of tornadoes right now, but very fast-moving, heavy downpours and a big stretch of heavy rain now extending across southern Volusia County, right through Sanford, Lake Monroe, just lifting again a little bit north and west of downtown Orlando, right through Apopka, and working its way out towards Winter Garden and also down just south of Claremont. Again, our 3D volume scan is still anchored on the same spot, still picking up on the heaviest rain right here through Apopka, extending out towards Zellwood, has the heaviest rain, and extending just north of Zellwood. You see it is stretching again back into areas in southern Lake County, so you will pick up at least another inch of rain. Look at this. Already we've seen in the dark green already over 2 inches of rain out through portions of Seminole County and Volusia County. Little stripes of 1 inch of rain here along the coast. Of course, as you go farther inland, less than that. And this is pretty much what our computer model was indicating, that we would see about 8, maybe 12 inches of rain primarily to the east, and of course then it drops off as you get west of Orlando. Again, the models have been coming into a little bit of a better alignment alignment here as to what's going to happen. Again, the NAM model right here indicating that the center would be moving ashore right near the Cape and then scooting right up the coastline. How about the BAMS model? Same deal, but actually brings it a little bit farther inland. Again, brings it basically right on shore across southern Brevard County, then moving the center right over the Cape and then back off the coastline and then swinging away from Georgia and the Carolinas over the next several afternoons. Our high-resolution local models showing the area of rain and wind. Northeasterly wind will be the strongest winds. Those will be the winds helping to produce the larger waves up to potentially now. I saw a number of 18 feet in the forecast. I think that's a bit high, so we're still sticking with about 10 to 12-foot waves on top of, again, the storm surge, and it's because of this strong onshore breeze, northeasterly wind. If the storm was coming in from this direction, we would actually have a north wind, so that would decrease some of the wave action. But because it is coming up from the south, we're getting this onshore east-northeasterly wind. So the center, the core, is going to be moving up at about 4 o'clock in the morning through Brevard County. The core then moves up into Volusia County at about 8 a.m. All inland areas, you can kind of pick up what you're getting and when. This is 10 o'clock in the morning. Still a very strong Category 4 hurricane at 10 in the morning, sitting out through Volusia County and Flagler County. And also as we head towards 1 o'clock, still very heavy rain. But again, this is a brand new computer model. This data just came in about 45 minutes ago. And notice by 1 o'clock tomorrow, it's really showing a drop off in the amount of rainfall and really concentrating the eye and the wind and the rain up in Flagler County. So things will definitely start to improve as we go through the afternoon based on this latest computer model run, which is showing things moving a little bit faster. So we'll see if the Hurricane Center latches onto that thinking and they can also move it out of the area a little bit quicker. That is the hope. Again, remember earlier it didn't show it moving out until around 7 or 8 in the evening. Now it's showing it moving out around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So that's a pretty big difference. That's 5-6 hours worth of rain and wind. Here's the current location. Once again, I overlaid the lightning layer so you can see where the lightning strikes are occurring. Have a little core, of course, right near the eye. The other batch is much farther out, over near the Gulf Stream. Waters back over towards the coastline, very heavy rain, but notice no lightning. No lightning. Again, the upper levels are a little bit too warm to produce widespread lightning. Again, there's the eye. Again, a little different perspective, again, showing the heavy rain that we're currently getting. Here's a live picture right now, again, back over towards the coast. Camera shaking around a little bit. This is the live picture of the Cape, but this is the data for downtown. 76 and a northeasterly wind currently at 21 miles per hour. Want to show you one last thing. Again, the current wind velocities, Charles and Bob. Right now, the winds generally are blowing across the area about 20 to 25 miles per hour. Just got a report of a wind gust a little while ago, 48 miles an hour right along the coastline.
Glenn, thank you. You know what I'd like to hear?
Talk to me.
Well, when he said that there were 2 bits of good news, that there was a little bit of air inside of the storm, which is always a very good thing.
Dry it out, sure.
Absolutely, and that its movement is faster to the north.
Right.
So if we can get this thing out of here as quickly as possible, that might minimize some of the damage.
Yeah, and as we've been saying, all it takes is just a few miles, a little bit further out, and the damage that we see, the wind at the coast, is just that exponentially smaller. So you're right, just a little bit of a nudge can make a world of difference. We're going to take a brief break here. As we do, let's take a look downtown Orlando from our SunTrust camera, and it's beautiful right now. Let's hope those lights stay on for all of you who are riding out the storm here in Central Florida. Keep it tuned right here to Fox 35 News.
Yes, folks, we're hoping those lights do stay on there in Orlando. Wow, can you imagine this storm just barreling in? It's supposed to hit about 2 p.m. there on the East Coast there. We'll see what happens there. They are bracing for it. This is something that they have dealt with in the past, but the last time a Category 3 or higher has come in that area is Hurricane Wilma back in 2005. So they are dealing with something that they haven't seen in over a decade, folks. So welcome to the Fox 10 News Now stream, part of Fox10Phoenix.com. We do appreciate you guys all being with us during this breaking news coverage. We've been with you all day today on Hurricane Matthew as it has been getting closer and closer to Florida, and it is almost there. So what we are hoping for is that everyone got the message. Governor Rick Scott has been doing at least 7 to 8 press conferences today. We've taken them all. And he's been warning and issuing those warnings to the people that live, especially on that east coast there on Florida, and really saying, hey, you need to move inland. You got to go now. You can't stay around, because if you go when it's too late, the roads are going to be flooded and you're not going to be able to get out. So hopefully those people have really taken that warning to heart and they've gotten out of the area. You know, there are things that can always be replaced. Your boat can be replaced. Your house can be replaced, but not your kids and not your family. So I'm hoping that they have all taken that advice there. Going to give you a live shot right now in Florida. As you can see, those winds are whipping right now. Right now, the very latest information that we have for you is the storm had weakened slightly to about 130 miles per hour, but still sustained winds down from 140. Matthew is about now 75 miles east of West Palm Beach. Let's take it back out now to our sister station, Fox 35, for the very latest.
Who are hunkering down. They're watching this, hoping for the best. We've gotten a little bit of good news from Glenn that the winds died down just a little bit. Instead of 140, well, it was in between 130 and 140. Got some air inside of the storm. It's moving faster. That's all very good for us.
At this point, though, when you're talking 3s and 4s, hurricane 3s and 4s, it's difficult, right? It's a little bit like splitting hairs here, but every bit of good news we will take. You are definitely a glasses half full kind of a guy. I can see that.
Well, you know, because you have to really give people something to hope for. You know, the needle in the haystack.
Absolutely.
Remember earlier we were talking about what was going on down in South Florida.
Right.
The eye was 100 miles away from Miami. The airport in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach, they're all going to be opening up tomorrow at noon. So there was minimal damage. If we can see that here, then we got a shot.
That would be great. We have got our reporters throughout Central Florida, including a miserable looking right now, Dana J., who is there. Right there, I think you're still along the Riverwalk, aren't you, there in Sanford? So you're right along the water's edge.
She's got a good sense of humor about it.
Why do you think I'm miserable? Why do you think I'm miserable? I can actually look at the camera this time without the rain going in my face. It's coming straight down instead of sideways right now. Hey, you guys, I don't know if, you know, our viewers have been with us and going away, and that's okay. But if you remember last hour, the rain was really coming sideways and pelting us here in downtown Sanford. We looked on the radar. I mean, there was red over us. So I think I didn't look at it before I got out here, so it may have calmed down a little bit. But I mean, that's what we have to expect for the next 12, 16, 18 hours or so. So the rain and the winds have been picking up and ebbing and flowing and whatnot here in downtown Sanford. This is going to be kind of ridiculous, but I'm going to show you this right here. So we do have some stuff blowing off of the trees. You know how we reporters like to show you stuff that's blown off trees and things like that. This is just evidence that the winds have picked up. This is probably nothing compared to what we're going to see tomorrow. I do want to tell you guys that we were out and about a little bit ago, maybe about an hour or so. We decided to drive around downtown Sanford just to see what was going on. And this place is a ghost town, and that includes 1792, which is where there are a lot of gas stations and fast food restaurants and that sort of thing. We were hoping to actually pop into one, if the truth be told. Most of them closed. We did find one place that was open. Folks there were riding out the storm. That's really good news, because that tells me that people are taking these warnings to stay off the road very seriously. And as we have been saying throughout the afternoon, there will be a curfew going into effect at 5 o'clock in the morning here in Seminole County, lasting more than 24 hours, all the way till Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Emergency responders really want you to stay off the road. Number one, it's going to be really dangerous. Number two, if something happens to you, they're going to have to come and help you, and that could injure them. It could also take resources away from where they might need to otherwise be. So observe that curfew here in Seminole County. I know there's one in Orange County starting at 10 o'clock this evening, Orange and Orlando. So just be aware of those as you head into these overnight hours and whatnot. Charles, Bob, I'll go ahead and send it back to you. Of course, as the rain starts to die down, I'll get back in the truck and it'll calm down for a minute. And then you'll say, hey, get out again. And then it'll start pouring. But such is the life of a reporter on a day like this.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm not even going to let you go now.
Right.
Dana, I hate to tell you, I peeked at the end of this story, and we've covered hurricanes before, and we had a reporter right there at the Riverwalk. I hate to tell you, that's going to get nice and flooded, and the water's going to come up over, and you're going to have just a heck of a good time splashing around in all that water. So you have that to look forward to. Anybody else been walking around? You got to interview a family earlier tonight. Have you seen anybody else, or are you flying solo?
That was a lot of fun. No, you know what? Once the rains really started picking up around 5 o'clock or so, we stopped seeing people. You did see people out getting their dogs out for a walk, making sure that, they were able to stretch their legs before they locked themselves in their homes. But, we really haven't seen very many people out here. I will tell you, Sanford police have been by a few times, and that's one of the things that law enforcement has been saying to the public is we will have people out patrolling, keeping an eye on businesses, just to make sure that nobody gets up to no good or anything like that, and that everybody stays safe. But other than that, you guys, it's actually been very quiet around here.
Dana, we will now let you go inside and dry out for a little bit, but don't get used to that, because we're going to have you back out here shortly.
We have both been out in the field and have suffered through that many, many years. And one of the places that reporters do like to go is the airport, because you have food and shelter and bathrooms, and it's got air conditioning.
That third one is the best.
But we know passengers do not like to be stuck there, and our reporter Tiffany Teasley is reporting from Orlando International tonight. She has this.
We can see Orlando International Airport is pretty much deserted. That's because all commercial flights were suspended as of 8 o'clock this evening, and now the airport is shut down. You can see they've already covered the kiosks here, and they are in hurricane preparedness mode. You can see all the cancellations here at the Southwest Terminal. These are from earlier in the day. Officials tell me more than 200 flights have been canceled today, 124 arrivals and 73 departures. So again, officials urging people not to come to the airport because there's simply no point. Everything has been shut down. They're trying to regain operations by at least Saturday, and they're telling people not to come to the airport because it is not a shelter. If you are stranded at the airport, they're directing people to Odyssey Middle School on Buena Vista. Reporting from OIA tonight, Tiffany Teasley, Fox 35 News.
Certainly, with all the shelters that are out there, of the places that you might have to be stuck to ride out the storm, Orlando International Airport is not the worst. They've got that beautiful hotel out there.
Absolutely.
Often voted one of the best airports in the entire country. And so if you've got to be stuck there, count your lucky stars on that one if you're having to ride out the storm here with us.
AC is a good thing.
Yeah, as long as it holds out, as long as the power continues to hold out.
Okay, as we go into break, we want to take these live pictures right now from a Department of Transportation cam. This is I-95. You're looking at mile marker 266, and you can see these cameras usually do not do very well at night.
No.
And when you can see it raining on one of these DOT cameras at night, you know it's really coming down. And fortunately, there is not a lot of traffic out there, so people have heeded warnings. They have already gotten to where they needed to be, or they are hunkering down.
And what I'm taking from this is that camera isn't shaking as much right now. So at least the winds have been picked up tremendously in this part of Central Florida, but that is set to change here shortly.
We'll be right back.
All right, folks, watching continuing coverage here on the Fox 10 News Now stream, part of fox10phoenix.com. Hurricane Matthew has already prompted 2 college football postponements and has the NFL plotting just in case scenarios for games scheduled in Tampa and Miami this weekend. A pair of college games set to be played on Saturday, LSU at number 18 Florida, as well as Charlotte at Florida Atlantic, have been postponed. Saturday night's game that has number 23 Florida State visiting number 10 Miami remains on as scheduled, though officials remain somewhat cautious. The fate of Saturday's Georgia at South Carolina football game also remained unclear. A major issue with games in Florida this weekend isn't the weather forecast for Saturday and Sunday, because those days look to be generally fine around the state. It's whether police, first responders, and other key personnel needed at those football games that draw massive crowds will be deployed to assist in areas that will take the brunt of Matthew's wrath. I want to give you another live look here. Taking a look now at Miami right now, as the storm is barreling in right now. You guys are watching the Fox 10 News Now stream, part of fox10phoenix.com. We always appreciate when you guys join us, when you guys are with us here. If you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page. That way, you'll always be in the know of when we are covering breaking news for you. And for these next 2 days at least, we are going to be covering Hurricane Matthew-related stories for you. So if you have, especially friends or family in Florida, you just got to share this link with them, share this page. We're going to have it covered for you, everyone, on the Fox 10 and News Now stream. We are going to send it back to our very own Fox 35 station in Orlando, Florida, in just a bit to give you another live look. Their reporters are all over Florida right now as it is expected to hit around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. Florida time.
And we are continuing our coverage right now of Hurricane Matthew here on Fox 35. The storm is probably a few hours away from beginning to really ramp up those winds and the rain and the damage that we are dreading at this point.
Holly Bristow has been intrepid for the past couple of hours, and she remains that way. Holly, we have seen several times when we've come to you, whatever location, you're in where, Melbourne now?
We are in Melbourne. We've actually been in Melbourne for a while. We are just north of the O'Galley Bridge, and the weather is definitely getting worse by the minute. I don't know if you can tell by the light here, but it seems like the rain is now coming down sideways. The gusts seem to be gustier and more consistent, and every now and then I'll just get a good push over to the side. We are right along where the Banana River and the Indian River meet up, the intercoastal here just north of the O'Galley Bridge. There are lots of whitecaps out here, out on the water, that also seem to be getting bigger and splashing me more as time seems to be going by. I will tell you, we picked a safe spot here. The trees are behind where the camera is, so the only thing that can fly at us this way if things do kick up a little bit is water. So I do want to mention that we are being safe about what we're doing out here. You can tell that the weather is getting worse. We really haven't seen any cars coming over the O'Galley Bridge probably for at least 30 minutes or so. The other thing, oops, I lied. I now see one coming over the bridge as we speak. But I haven't seen any people coming out here to take a look at the water and see what's going on. So people are definitely staying inside, which is what everybody is recommending that they do. We were over in Satellite Beach earlier tonight. The police were out on the roads, and anytime they saw cars other than ours in the parking lot, they were pulling in there and telling people to go home. They were actually telling them to evacuate, and if they weren't evacuating, to go home, be safe, stay inside, stay off the roads. One thing that is important to note, that the police beachside said that they're going to be out on the roads as long as it is safe for them to be out on the road. So if you decided not to evacuate and you do have an emergency, there's a good possibility that crews will not be able to get to you because they will not be risking their lives to go help you. The police told me that once the weather gets super bad and their cars start blowing around, they will all be going back to the Satellite Beach Police Department, staying in the police department until it is safe for them to come out. We're going to be out here as long as it is safe. At this point, we're just getting rain and wind. We're definitely keeping an eye out on things, and for now, we're good. So we'll be out here telling you exactly what we're seeing and what we're feeling as long as it's safe. Charles?
Holly Bristow. Holly, thank you so much. It is interesting to watch Holly's live shot change from moment to moment. I think we were with her maybe a half hour ago. Hood down, the wind was okay, and then just 20 minutes later, it's a much different scenario. It may only be another couple of hours before we really have to get Holly out of that situation and into a place where she's up against some sort of an obstruction so that she can be out of that wind, because it will take you off of your feet.
Yeah, and she's tiny.
She is, yeah. She. Well, I don't think anybody really could actually stand up in wind like that. You or I would be certainly blown off of our feet as well.
Well, we know somebody who has a little more meat on his bones. That's Matt Trezza. He's over in New Smyrna Beach.
Look at him,
Matt. How you doing?
Windy and rainy. That's how it is out here. I probably look like the Michelin Man right now because the wind is just blowing through this area very, very strong. I've been out at New Smyrna Beach before several times. I have never felt wind like this. Now, we're seeing the bands of the storm, Hurricane Matthew, that is blowing through here. You know, it's kind of like the arms of an octopus. So each time one of those arms, those bands, blows through the area, you get huge gusts of wind and rain coming at you, and that is exactly what we're feeling here at New Smyrna Beach. Now, the waves, you can't see it all that well out here. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera there, but the waves are very, very rough. They're not very large, but you can definitely see that it goes far, far, far back out to the surf there. Everything that we're seeing of these big waves that are coming in toward the shore here. The parking lot is flooded, and as we drove down the street to this area, this is the beach parking lot in New Smyrna Beach, right near the Volusia County Beach Patrol station here. Flagler Avenue, which is kind of like the main strip in New Smyrna Beach, is quiet as a ghost town. Lights are on, but most of the businesses are boarded up. I saw 2 police cars without lights on or anything, just standing by, sitting there waiting in case there's anything that they need to address. But right now, it seems as far as New Smyrna Beach goes, everyone is heeding the governor's warning and getting indoors and getting themselves to safety. Live in New Smyrna Beach, Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
Matt Trezza goes windy and rainy. Translation, bitter and resentful. He is not happy to be out there, and I don't blame him one bit.
All right, well, we know that Glenn is busy doing his job. He's not bitter or resentful.
No, not.
Oh, I'm inside. It's dry. Yeah, but we can hear the rain. It is definitely coming down very heavy right now up on the rooftop. So expect to see more of the same, and you're going to get tired of hearing that sound all night tonight. It'll be wave after wave after wave of heavy bursts of rain. Some areas, of course, will get more than others, but everybody's in on the act for tonight. Here is the center of Hurricane Matthew, now moving away from the Bahamas. So it's officially past Grand Bahama Island now. Notice it was traveling a little north of the line, and then a little south of the line, now back a little north of the line. So it's just going to kind of meander back and forth. And right now, it looks like it will be moving just offshore. And I say that because we're starting to at least notice in a few of the computer models, some of the late night model runs or late evening model runs, we're starting to see some of the models showing no landfall at all, that it's going to stay just off the coastline. I'll show you in just a little bit. So here's the heavy rain that's currently moving through portions of Volusia County, northern Brevard County. Look at Seminole County from about Truliota north up towards Geneva, just inundated with heavy, heavy rain. A little farther inland, you can see how it continues to be blown all the way through Lake County and Orange County, now getting down into northern Polk County. Again, it is going to be weakening, of course, as it goes farther inland. The heaviest rains will be from I-4 out towards the east, but you kind of get the feel for it. Here's a closer view of what's going on in Seminole County. Here's our radar site. Out here's about Lake Pickett and the Truliota area. You can see the heavy rain moving on in, coming in from the north. So that's going to continue for at least another half hour or so. But remember, all of this is moving at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. You can see some of the communities that are being affected by this batch right here of heavy rain that will be moving towards Winter Park and downtown Orlando, and just now beginning to also move into East Orange County, out towards Bithlo and also out towards UCF. Here's what I'm talking about. Take a look at the latest run of our computer model. Watch the center, and also the timing has changed a little bit too. This is 1 a.m. The main core is beginning to really hit the Brevard County area, the main core of wind, that is. You'll get heavy rain before that. This is at 4 a.m., but look at the center, still sitting just a little bit offshore. Let's watch it, showing it just near the shoreline. It's not much, but it's very near the shoreline at about 5:30. And then, again, the question is, will it officially hit the tip and be considered landfall, or will it just graze the coastline? But this is at 7 a.m. Again, the heaviest wind and rain hitting Volusia County. The winds are already changing direction at 7 a.m. So in Brevard County, it will be an overnight event for you, it appears now. And then as we head towards sunup, we're expecting the wind direction to switch. Things will begin to dry out. And again, it looks like the winds will also ease up. The main core of wind will be here at about 9 a.m. This little donut-looking deal. Again, showing the center just a little bit offshore. Daytona Beach down to Titusville will be the heaviest rain, still coming down in Orlando, but the wind direction already changing by 11 a.m. And if you've been down here for any great length of time and you've been through a tropical system, a hurricane, and the wind, as soon as that wind switches, you feel the difference. The air's not quite as humid. It's a little bit drier. The showers actually start to break up. If it's during the daylight hours, which it will be for us tomorrow, you'll actually start to see a few breaks in the clouds. Once you get that wind switch, it looks a little bit more ominous on this, but you kind of get the feel for it. But still at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, sitting up around Flagler County, which means as we go through the latter part of the afternoon, look at that, we've already cleared it out. So I am expecting things to move through potentially a little bit faster. We'll see what the new official forecast from the Hurricane Center if they do in fact speed it up. Here is a look at the winds. So we've revised these numbers a little bit and also the timing for you. Strongest winds offshore. This will be at about 5 a.m. when the strongest winds will be moving into the metro area of Orlando and extending, again showing the center. Look at this, just offshore. Earlier this whole center was onshore. It is now offshore. This is at 7 a.m. for tomorrow. 70-mile-an-hour winds east of Orlando. 100-mile-per-hour winds still possible along the coast. Then hitting the Volusia County area. Notice the center. Still offshore. 40-mile-per-hour winds through Lake and Sumter and Marion County at 9 a.m. And then already by noon, there's the center beginning to move away. Winds will be out of the west. Weather improving in Brevard County. Weather improving in Polk and Osceola County. Winds still strong through Volusia County and Flagler County, but starting to ease up by noon to 1 p.m. in and around Orlando. Then by 2 p.m., the center starts to get up around St. Augustine. And then notice, of course, everybody starts to improve possibly as early as around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Still windy out there, still some showers going on, but the threat of the damaging winds, that will begin to move on out, potentially a little bit quicker. Again, we'll get a brand new forecast track from the Hurricane Center folks here coming up at 11 o'clock. So here's the center, again, moving, still producing a lot of lightning. The strongest winds are on the north and east eye wall, not on the west side. And that's good because it looks like we will, in fact, be on the west side of this eye as it continues to move in our direction. One last view. Looks like Bob and Charles, again, the center moving towards the Cape. Still everything going as planned, but look at all that rain that's still on the way. So flooding definitely a concern through the overnight.
Glenn Richards, we are just getting started tonight.
Absolutely. We just want to pass along some information to you. We just got this information from the governor's office, and we want to put up some of these Department of Transportation cameras while we give you this information. This is live video right now from I-4 at Ivanhoe Boulevard, and this information coming from the governor is that he is keeping an eye on the fuel situation in the state of Florida, specifically retail fuel shortages or any sort of an issue dealing with it, state and local fuel assistance requests. He is very concerned with the current fuel supply, but he says that it should last for 6 days, even if all the ports are temporarily closed. He says the state has already contacted emergency fuel and equipment providers, and this is very important. If you feel like you are being price gouged because of this storm, you are to immediately contact Pam Bondi's office. That's the Florida Attorney General. And to report any sort of a situation where you feel like you are being taken advantage of. And we know, because we've done this many times, Bob, there is always an opportunist waiting to take advantage of innocent people.
Yeah, whether it's through the obviousness of the price gouging, you can just see the price that's listed up there, or these people that will come through and they promise to do you some work. And we're going to have some blue tarps on some homes here coming up here shortly. And the folks that promise to do the work, they want the money up front. Make sure you don't do that, or at least do half and then try and get pay the other half once the work is completed. All of these guys are out there. So as many of you will feel victimized by the storm, keep your guard up and don't let yourself be victimized by the many scam artists and people who are going to try and take advantage of you once the storm passes. As we were talking about all the fuel and if you were fortunate enough to gas up, you had to get somewhere. You had to drive someplace safe. And I know a lot of people took off on I-4 and they were headed down in the Tampa area. We've got Evan Lambert from our TVT station there in the Tampa area. Obviously, it's quiet there in Polk County as a lot of people were making their way towards you. What's the situation like out there? I would imagine you've gotten a lot of so-called refugees from the Orlando area.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We saw a lot of people riding around Polk County, a lot of people, especially on I-4, heading over to the Tampa area. We stopped at a rest stop in Auburndale, and there were cars lined up there to get a parking space to go inside and take a break, walk their dogs. A lot of those people were in the car for several hours more than they expected, several hours more than they should have been because of all the traffic along I-4. But it was pretty much bumper to bumper I-4 heading westbound. And a lot of those people headed to the Tampa Bay area, maybe to stay with family, but a lot of people also looking for hotels because they couldn't find any over on the coast or in the Orlando area even. So heading over to that Tampa area, and a lot of hotels there, we're told, are also sold out. So some people making their way to shelters as well. But those roads definitely packed. And you mentioned before the gas prices or the gas shortages. People could not find gas in a lot of the places in Polk County as well. Winter Haven, Auburndale, we saw several gas stations that were just all roped up because they were out of gas.
Evan Lambert. Evan, thank you so much. I know there's a lot of reporters around here right now that are envious of Evan's space there in Polk County where it's relatively quiet. They're going to get parts of the storm, but not certainly the brunt that we're going to see in Volusia and Brevard counties.
Well, we heard earlier from some of my contacts in the Tampa area that the hotels were filling up very quickly, especially downtown and in the tourist areas in Ybor City. People were looking for a place to go because there was nothing on the way. So you're talking about a 100-mile stretch where people can't find hotels as they're evacuating. And we saw exactly the same thing with Charlie, didn't we?
Absolutely. Which tells you an awful lot. I mean, if you're talking about an area that has a plethora of hotel rooms and there is no place at the inn for these folks to go and they've got to make their way down to the Tampa area and they're still struggling to find a spot, there are a lot of displaced people here, but they made the right choice and got out of harm's way as we're watching, because when they return, they will be very happy that they did not ride out the storm where, on the Barrier Islands or very close to Daytona Beach or in Volusia County. Those areas are going to be, in the next few hours, going to see an awful lot of wind, rain, storm surge, and danger. They'll be happy they weren't there.
Let's go to some live pictures right now from our bank of Department of Transportation cameras, and this is a beautiful shot, even though it's raining.
Yeah, it's beautiful right now, and the lights are on, and it's lovely. You can see, though, that main stretch going through, I think that's, I believe that's Colonial.
Right? No?
Or Church Street, they say I-4. I'm guessing that's Colonial, but I could be totally wrong. Anyway, I don't see a car on it is the point. It's Orange Avenue? That is. That's Orange Avenue. And then see, look, there you go.
Yeah,
people heeding the warning.
Downtown.
Yeah, and it's actually, right now, it's not a miserable evening, but people know what's coming. The word has gotten out, thankfully, through television and also as much social media as we're able to generate these days.
Yeah, we want to remind you guys, if you are able to take any sort of video or any pictures as the storm approaches, make sure that you send it to us on our Facebook page. Sure. Because we'll put them up there. But we want to remind you, please remain safe while doing it. Don't go out of your way and don't put yourself in harm's way in order to do that.
This is out at the port. Is this Port Canaveral, or is this down where the cruise ships come in and out? This is Port Canaveral. All right. And, we're always talking about how great it is to work in this market and to be able to watch all the fantastic things that happen there out at the Cape Canaveral. They are buttoned up tight. Only the most important, the most necessary people are still on shift. And we certainly have our fingers crossed for you folks that are riding out the storm out there. But they have buttoned up everything tight to make sure that delicate equipment out there is safe.
I think we're going to go to Daytona Beach now, and there you see it. You can see it's starting to pick up a little bit, and no traffic.
Yeah, and this is really, again, this is just the beginning. If you think, well, the storm was supposed to be here on Thursday, what's going on? We haven't even started yet, and it is a long, long process. When you go to sleep, as Glenn's been saying, when you go to sleep tonight, when you get up in the morning, that's
Right, folks, welcome to the Fox 10 and News Now stream, part of fox10phoenix.com. We are covering this live for you. Hurricane Matthew about to hit Florida. I want to give you guys the very latest that I can. Florida Governor Rick Scott maintains that the state and local officials are prepared for Hurricane Matthew, even as he called the storm bearing down on the state a total monster.
We had heard that they were waiting to make a determination on where they were going to play that game, or if Florida State was going to wait an extra day before going down to play the Hurricanes. And how ironic is that?
Right. Yeah, no kidding. But it looks as though Miami may have dodged at least the brunt of the storm, and so I think they should be able to play the game, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at how calm the water is. If I'm not mistaken, that is a causeway shot across the intercoastal. Right in the middle of the city, and it looks fine. I mean, although I will say this, I think that a lot of people stayed in because Miami is crazy with traffic all the time, and I only saw a couple of cars going by on that causeway. Normally, it would be very, very busy at...
I don't know that you'd want to drive out to the Keys at this point tonight. But, you know
if there's no problem with, the 7 Mile Bridge, have
at it, right?
Well, let's go ahead down and have a beer.
This is I drive a lot of normally a happening tourist spot on a Thursday night. Hopefully, those of you who are visiting us from out of state, out of town, are hunkered down out of the country, absolutely, are in your hotel rooms watching the coverage. Unfortunately, Disney and Universal and SeaWorld, they all shut down for the night. Those of you who want to do Halloween Horror Nights tonight, it's not going to happen tonight, and it's not going to happen tomorrow night either. But it will reopen again soon, Saturday. If you can, we'd love for you to stick around and enjoy all that Orlando has to offer, because it is plentiful.
It's going to be wind and rain for the next 24 hours or so.
That can be entertaining for a little bit.
Absolutely. You sound like a real fun guy at a party.
I'm a Chamber of Commerce kind of a guy. I'm trying to sell this.
Let's get over to Brooks. Brooks, what you got, my friend?
Boat drinks, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. A little bit of no official change in the official forecast from the Hurricane Center. That's what we relay to you here. But we could see a little bit of optimism and some of the latest forecast models. I'll show those to you in about 60 seconds. Right now, Tiki outside, we don't have anywhere near tropical storm force winds yet. Northeast at 22, both in Melbourne, 23 in Melbourne, 22 in Daytona Beach. Had a few wind gusts near tropical storm force strength with the rain band that settled across us. And right now, that rain band continues dumping rain. Southern Volusia County, central and eastern Seminole County, into Orange County. Go ahead and zoom on in real quick, and you can easily see, well, we're not going to do that, but you can easily see the areas in red. Those are the tropical downpours. Unofficial report of close to 5 inches of rain in Sanford. And now let's talk about a little bit of optimism. A couple of things. Number one, we put this white line earlier today on here because it was the trajectory line that Hurricane Matthew was taking as we came into the situation about the lunch hour. It's been paralleling. It's gone a couple of jogs to the right, and now some forecast models are saying, you know what? Instead of coming right along the coast, we might stay 20 miles off the coast. And as Glenn Richards has mentioned, with this very constricted wind field, especially on the right-hand side of the storm, that may keep the worst winds off the coast. Now, we're not going to let our guard down yet. This is not an official forecast change. Still have winds of 130 miles an hour with the system as it's moving northwest at 13, pressure at 939 millibars. But here's what I want to show you. First off, this constricted wind field. If we think about a hurricane like Floyd that came back in 1999, had a broad wind field. So if the center of Floyd was over the western half of Grand Bahama Island, we would definitely have tropical storm, if not maybe hurricane force winds just to the west. Well, right now we have north-northwest winds at 32 miles, gusting to 44 at Palm Beach International, but we don't have anything close to that around that. So good news for us is it's a tight wind field. And now let's talk about some of the latest forecast guidance. I just tweeted out and put on Facebook some spaghetti models. Most of the spaghetti models now keep the storm offshore. This is our high-resolution forecast model. It keeps the center of circulation offshore. The west edge of the eye wall does come in contact with Brevard County, Volusia County, and possibly Flagler County tomorrow. But that being said, with this storm, it has consistently had the strongest winds on the northeast side. So when we say 130-mile-an-hour winds, that's right in the northeast eye wall. On the west side of the eye wall, we're seeing winds in more like 70, 80, 90 miles an hour. So that's good news if the center of circulation stays offshore. Even if it's only 10 or 20 miles offshore, that's what we could be seeing as we go through tomorrow, or late tonight into tomorrow. Show you one more, and this is our high-resolution computer forecast model with the wind and the rain overlaid. And as we go through the overnight hours, this is tonight around 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, still dealing with an onshore flow. But note that the center of circulation in this run stays offshore. Strongest winds coming to Brevard County, more than likely between 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning. Here we are at 6 o'clock in the morning. Winds really picking up right now in Volusia and probably right near the St. Johns River. As we go through the morning, once again, if the center of circulation stays offshore, there's not an official forecast change, but if the center of circulation does stay offshore, we will continue to see the strongest winds on the northeast side of the eye, and that would be good news for us here in Central Florida. Again, not an official forecast change, but we'll continue to see what comes to fruition. One last thing I want to show you one more time. We have north and northeast winds right now. The strongest right now are between 20 and 25 miles an hour, Daytona Beach and in Melbourne. Daryl Nail, we had him a little bit earlier. He's got an anemometer with him at Cape Canaveral, so we can always check and see what the wind conditions are live in Cape Canaveral with Daryl Nail. And once again, I want to show you this picture. We're just going to continue to use it until probably Matthew is no longer. Earlier today, made landfall in western Grand Bahama Island, just around Freeport. If you're familiar with Freeport, made landfall right around Freeport and now is continuing off to the north and the west. No official damage reports yet out of Freeport, but we do have a NOAA wind sensor, an anemometer, right on the western edge of Grand Bahama Island. It did have hurricane force winds, but not until right when the eyeball got there. And that's why we're looking at a very constricted wind field. So it does look like with this wind field right here, if it does decide to stay offshore, we will see tropical storm force winds and more than likely hurricane force winds probably confined to the coast. That's something we're going to have to monitor, and that's why we're bringing you this coverage nonstop until Matthew passes by. Latest update on Hurricane Matthew, once again moving northwest at 13 miles an hour. Winds down to 130 miles an hour, but it's still a dangerous Category 4 storm. But right now, with the latest information on the wind and the wind fields, again, these are the current winds. And if the center of the storm, well, it is right near the western end of Grand Bahama Island, it's not that large of a wind field. Palm Beach International, still not tropical storm force winds. Same thing as we go up the coast. We are seeing tropical storm force gusts to the west, but with this constricted wind field, we do have a little bit of a reason to maybe have a little bit of optimism. No official change in the official forecast just yet. Hurricane warnings for all of the coastal counties in Central Florida and inland for Seminole, Osceola, and Orange counties. We'll continue to monitor Hurricane Matthew. Glenn Richards is in the house, and we'll bring you all the updates all night long. Back to you.
Brooks, we appreciate it so much. Unfortunately, an update out of Haiti, and unfortunately the death toll has risen, fairly dramatically. It is now up to 283 fatalities confirmed out of Haiti. Not unexpected, I would imagine, when a hurricane, a Category 3 or a 4 goes through, especially after the devastation they had gotten through. A lot of the buildings are just not up to code for this type of a storm, and we're seeing the effects of that.
Yeah, and the positioning of the land. I mean, that made landfall in that country with such strength, and thankfully at this point, we're just seeing the very edge of it, and hoping that this continues to take a turn away from us. But certainly our thoughts are with everyone there. We've been obviously checking around all of Central Florida to keep you posted on what exactly is happening where. We want to go back to Cape Canaveral right now, where Fox 35's Daryl Nail filed this report.
I'm standing right along State Road 528, the beach line, standing on the Merritt Island side looking towards Cocoa, and this is west. And this is something you rarely see. 528 looking like a very lonely highway at this point. But you can see at the top of the bridge, you see lights going away from us. That would be from Merritt Island to Cocoa. And then you see this car coming towards us. This is coming from the mainland over to the beaches and over to Merritt Island. We can't identify what type of car that is, but we've seen ordinary vehicles going back and forth. We've also seen emergency vehicles going back and forth. Sheriff's office, we've seen FP&L. But a lot of people are under some misunderstandings about this particular causeway, this being a main thoroughfare between Orlando and Cocoa Beach, and that is that this is somehow blocked off, or that you can't pass it now, or they've cut it off. If somebody's telling you that, you can now clearly see that's just not the case. The road is clear, it is open, and of course we're getting late into the, starting to get into the evening, and dark is now falling, but this causeway and this road is still been in use, and there are still people driving around. I talked to the EOC. They say they're not dealing with any issues on the roads. There was an accident on 528 westbound, closer to Orange County, but that one has been resolved, we understand. There's also about 2,200 people without power down in South Brevard. FP&L is working on that. We've seen their trucks here. They're active and trying to restore that power. But of course, the big part of this storm still on the way here to the area, and we're awaiting that. In Merritt Island, Daryl Nail, Fox 35 News.
Daryl, thinking we should say that report was a short time ago. Mm-hmm. So the conditions there in Cape Canaveral are changing dramatically, as we're about to see.
Yeah, we're going to go right now to Holly Bristow, who is in Melbourne with the latest on how things are looking there. Holly, how you feeling?
I'm wet. I'm beginning to realize that I should have gotten a better rain jacket than what I did, because I'm certainly getting wet here. I will tell you, the wind is certainly picking up, and the rain seems to be getting more and more sideways as the night wears on. The other thing that I've also noticed, we've been keeping an eye, guess I better pay closer attention to my footing here. As you look over at the water, you'll see some big splashes come up more often than we have been. The waves seem to be getting bigger on the intercoastal here, and typically, if you're just joining us, this is the Indian River behind us, the intercoastal that goes through here, and this is typically a place that people enjoy boating. You're not used to seeing whitecaps out here unless it's, a foul weather day or a hurricane like we're getting right now. And it's just whitecap after whitecap after whitecap across the entire river from Indian Harbor Beach all the way over here to Melbourne. I'll tell you one thing, people seem to be noticing that the weather is getting worse. We haven't had any visitors here at our live shot location in probably about 2 hours. We've been keeping an eye on the bridge, and cars coming over the bridges are very few and far between. The other thing that I've noticed is that the palm trees seem to be getting a little bit more sideways. I'd show you one, but I don't really think that we've got enough light to really give you a good picture of what's going on. Oh, there we go at this point. So it seems every time you guys check in with us, the weather's definitely getting a little bit worse. We're getting a little bit wetter with rain and from what's spraying up from the river behind us. And I definitely have to pay more attention to when we're opening and closing the car doors, because they're definitely trying to resist against us, and having to pay better attention to where we're walking, and definitely walking with a purpose, because the second you get a little light on your feet, you definitely start getting blown around a little bit. And we're still pretty earlier in the night, so I can imagine things are just going to be getting much, much worse as you guys check in with us throughout the night. Sunny?
All right, Holly, thanks.
Well, Holly, I just got to ask you, because I'm sure you've seen it. The wind will take reporters off of their feet. Even good-sized, large reporters will be taken right off of their feet.
Which you are not, Holly.
Which you are not. And so my question is, do you have a place to go to behind a wall or something that's going to block that wind? Because I know it's entertaining, but I don't think we all need to see you blown across the lawn there.
For the record, and I know my mother is watching, we are being very safe out here tonight. One of the reasons that we chose this location is that we're right along the river, and the only thing that can really blow up and hit us at this point is water, and I'm really not too afraid of that. The trees are all kind of behind where the camera is, so if anything, they'll be hitting the car and not us. The other thing is, yes, we do have a place to go. We've got a hotel room where we will be staying the night in Palm Bay. And as the weather gets worse, we will be going further west, and we'll make sure that we've got a building or something to block us. We're not going to be putting our lives in danger, just to report. So we're keeping an eye on things. We're being safe. We're just keeping you guys informed. And you know, you guys can laugh at us as we're sitting out here in the rain getting wet and you're in the nice studio eating pizza on your breaks. I saw that the pizza delivery was made via the email, so.
We may or may
but
not
don't
have
worry,
had,
I made myself a good sandwich for tonight.
We may or may not have had 4 pieces here out on set. We are grateful, Holly, though, for your work and your photographer, Mike Schlissel's work. And we're thinking about you guys to stay safe out there. And we're grateful for the great reports that you guys are filing. So thank you so much.
I will tell you the thing I'm most envious of right now is a bathroom, because there is nothing open in this area, and you know, nature calls at some point. So definitely trying to find some place in the very near future.
Oh, geez, Hall. All right, we'll be thinking of you. Stay safe out there. We'll check back.
Does it make me a bad person that I'm not sorry I had that pizza?
It was good. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more coverage from New Smyrna Beach next.
All right, folks, you are watching continuous coverage right here on the Fox 10 and News Now stream, and we really do appreciate everybody watching on fox10phoenix.com as well as our Facebook Live right there on Fox 10 Phoenix. If you haven't already done so, I would say while we have this break right now, while they're in a commercial break, our sister station Fox 35 in Orlando, here's what we should all be doing right now. First, be thinking about everybody in Florida. Let's have some good thoughts for them. They're going to get hit pretty hard. Second, let's like us on Facebook. And if you're watching on Fox 10 Phoenix, let's hit the subscribe button. That way you'll always be in the know of when we are covering breaking news. We do stream Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And as you can see today, we went wall to wall with coverage of Hurricane Matthew. This is something that you like to see if you're, especially in the Florida area, if you just want to be informed more, or if you just want to know when breaking news events are, we cover them for you. We've got you covered, everybody. And we always appreciate when you guys watch these events live with us. We do stream Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We're so happy that you could join us right here on the Fox 10 and News Now stream. Authorities have told roughly 1.5 million people across Florida to evacuate. Right now, it has crammed highways. It has flooded people in hotels, and they need to open dozens of hurricane shelters in the state. The looming storm has also led to gas shortages, though Scott said the state still has about 5 days worth of fuel supplies. Let's get you back out now to our sister station, Fox 35, with continuing coverage.
We've got rain here. I'm looking at I-4 and Church Street where it looks like it's barely coming down. But we know we've got, heavy rain coming down here in our studio.
Yeah, we do in Lake Mary. Let's check in with Matt Trezza, who's in New Smyrna Beach right now. Matt, where exactly are you oriented with regard to the water? How close are you, and how are conditions where you are?
Well, remember earlier when I was talking, I was discussing about the bands of the hurricane, as you could see, that were coming through the area. And now this is one of those bands. Look at this pouring rain that is just pouring down the street. Literally, since we arrived, the only thing that we have seen besides us on the street are police vehicles, because they're out here trying to make sure that everyone stays off the roads, and if they haven't evacuated, that they are safe indoors. We understand that in Volusia County, there is now a mandatory curfew starting at midnight until 7 a.m. Anyone who is found out on the streets loitering, as the release said, is good or could be charged with a misdemeanor. However, it also said that anyone who's out on the roads and they're evacuating, that's going to be okay. But remember, just to repeat, between midnight and 7 a.m. in Volusia County, if you're not on the roads because you're evacuating from the area, you could be charged with a misdemeanor if they catch you out here. So either shelter in place or get out and find shelter somewhere else. Now it seems like the rain has died down a little bit. That band that I was talking about has now passed over us. The rain is significantly less, and that is a repeat of what we've been seeing throughout the night in this area, just bands of wind and rain as Hurricane Matthew continues bearing down here on the Volusia County coastline. Live in New Smyrna Beach, Matt Trezza, Fox 35 News.
All right, Matt, thanks. As Matt said, just conditions rapidly changing, as is wont to happen during this stage in a storm.
You say changing. I think Brooks is going to start to say deteriorating as we move through the evening. Brooks?
because, yeah, that's generally what we see. The weather begins to deteriorate, and we're going to see that happen a little faster as we go into the early morning hours, first in southern Brevard County, because right now, still the hurricane 100 and something miles away. Northeast winds right now at 22 miles an hour in Daytona, 25 miles an hour in Melbourne. And Matt mentioned that very heavy rain. Well, here's the heavy rain on Guardian Live weather radar, and the heaviest rain in the yellow and red. And you can easily see Volusia County down through Seminole County, Orange County, Lake County, and Osceola County. As a matter of fact, portions of Seminole County out near Sanford Airport, already 5 inches of rain has fallen. And here is Hurricane Matthew. A couple of things I want to point out. Still, it's way to the southeast of us. Here's Grand Bahama Island, if you're familiar with that, pretty much due east of West Palm Beach. Still, right now, basically following this trajectory line. We put this on here about 1 o'clock this afternoon, when we were watching Hurricane Matthew come up near Nassau and Exuma. Right now, it looks like it's paralleling the line, maybe moving a little bit to the right of that. And that would be good news for us, because if it stays on the right side of the line even, it puts it just a little further off the coast, and that's where the strongest winds will be. Now, let's talk about the winds. We have 3 components to a hurricane in terms of damage: winds, rain, and storm surge. With this hurricane, right now the forecast track, the official forecast track, taking it right along the coast, puts a storm surge of 7 to 11 feet, Flagler, Volusia, Brevard counties. That being said, if the storm decides to stay offshore, even only 10 or 20 more miles and where it might be, that would lessen the impact of storm surge. Rain, we're not looking at widespread flooding rain because it's moving at a fair clip, but the wind's the big story with this. Right now, Hurricane Center says winds of 130 miles an hour, but all the winds, the strongest winds, are on the northeast eye and eye wall. On the west side, we're seeing a little bit less wind. Northeast side has 130 mile an hour winds. The west side, more like 80 or 90 mile an hour winds in the eye wall. And the latest spaghetti models, told you, starting to show that it may just stay offshore, even if it's only 10 or 20 miles offshore of Cape Canaveral, Brevard County, Volusia County, Flagler County. That will keep the axis of strongest winds offshore. So that could be good news in the short term. In the long term, a lot of possibilities on what Matthew may do. Here's our high-resolution computer forecast model. And once again, Glenn Richards mentioned this a few minutes ago. It shows that the center of Matthew could stay offshore of Brevard County and Volusia County. And if that's the case, the strongest winds, the 110, 120, 130 mile an hour winds would stay offshore. That would mean that we would see hurricane force winds likely in the coastal counties along the coast. But as we head inland, we'll start to see the wind much less. So that could be something that we pay attention to in the evening and overnight hours, because now we're getting into nowcasting. Now we're taking a look and seeing, will the eye stay 10 or 20 miles offshore rather than come ashore? Either which way you look at it, the brand new model says by 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, look at this, up towards the Florida-Georgia line, the St. Mary's River. And what that means is we should start to see improving conditions tomorrow. Late tomorrow afternoon, again, improving from south to north, and that sets the stage for a very nice looking weekend. Last thing I want to show you, the current winds with the system. Now, these are sustained winds. Right now, in the state of Florida, we don't have any tropical storm force sustained winds except for a couple of buoys and a couple of piers that stick out into the Atlantic Ocean. That's good news. We do have some some tropical storm force wind gusts, but no hurricane wind gusts being reported. So this is a very constricted, tight system. And again, if the strongest winds stay just offshore, like some of the latest data and forecast guidance says it may, then we could see the strongest winds stay offshore and not have catastrophic damage in Central Florida. That's something that myself and Glenn Richards will be taking a look at all evening long. For the latest on Matthew as well, we'll send it back to you.
Brooks Salmon. Brooks, thank you much.
And we'll be back with more right after this.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Fox 10 News Downstream, part of fox10phoenix.com. You're seeing some of our coverage there from our sister station in Fox 35 in Orlando as they are bracing for Hurricane Matthew. We do appreciate you guys being with us this evening. We're going to get back right to our sister station in just a little bit when they come back from their commercial break. The coordinator for Haiti's interior ministry in the area hit hardest by Hurricane Matthew says the confirmed death toll in the southwestern zone is now 283. Once again, the confirmed death toll in Haiti contributed by Hurricane Matthew is now 283. Bodies have started to appear as waters recede in some areas. Now, 2 days after Matthew smashed concrete walls and flattened palm trees and tore roofs off homes. That is now heading to Florida. We are wishing everybody that is in Florida right now the very best, and we're hoping everybody took Governor Rick Scott's advice to move inland, to get out while you still can. You're watching the Fox 10 News Now stream, part of fox10phoenix.com. We always appreciate when you guys join us live here. Hurricane Matthew coverage. We've been covering it for you for the last 10 hours here on the Fox 10 News Now stream. That is what we do. That is what we do when breaking news happens. We go wall-to-wall coverage for you. Back out now live to Fox 35 in Orlando.
Of Hurricane Matthew, Orange Avenue here in downtown Orlando. And the rain is obviously picking up as we fully expected it to do. The wind not going to be far behind. This is going to be a far different look here in another couple of hours.
Yeah, we just want to reiterate the information. Orange County, like several other counties, putting out a curfew. Requesting that everyone be in by 10 o'clock tonight, stay off the streets until 7 a.m. Saturday.
There are exceptions.
That's in Orange County. There are exceptions. They said if they're not going to throw cuffs on you if you go outside. It's up to the officer's discretion. And they said if no one is out with the intent to cause any criminal harm, then they'll probably leave you alone. But they are suggesting that you shelter in place, again, 10 p.m. tonight until 7 a.m. Saturday. And speaking of Orange County, Kirsten Delgado checked out downtown Orlando earlier tonight.
Just filed this report.
Hey guys, we're here right on Orange Avenue where no one is on the road, which is a good thing. It means that locals here are following the instructions and the suggestions from Orange County to stay off the roads after 5 or 6 this afternoon. And now the latest order is that there is a curfew for Orange County starting at 10 tonight until 7 a.m. Saturday. This is important for several reasons. One, we're expecting wind gusts here in downtown to be around 38 miles an hour once things really get going here with the hurricane later on this evening. It's raining, it's drizzling right now, but it's been raining pretty hard intermittently here downtown. And the importance of all this is to stay off the roads for several reasons. One, for your own safety. Two, for the safety of first responders who then don't have to come out after you to try and save you from these conditions that are going to get worse as the evening goes on. Remember that once it gets to about 50 miles an hour, first responders will not come out and help. Remember that curfew is underway 10 o'clock tonight till 7 a.m. Saturday. Back to you.
Kirsten Delgado. Kirsten, thank you very much. Yeah, stay off the roads if you can. If you really have a place to go, you need to be extra careful, especially after 11 o'clock and before 7 o'clock tomorrow. The winds are just going to be howling. Right. I'm already watching this I-4 at Church Street, and the rain is coming down, yes, but now you're seeing the rain get swept across. These puddles are just moving across the roadway. Right. You know that's some strong wind out there. A truck, high-profile vehicles.
Not good.
It's getting dangerous for those guys to be out.
Yeah, speaking of travel, air travel significantly impacted as well by this. There's a look at Church Street. Bob was just referencing the wind kind of pushing the rain that we're seeing, at least in this picture, and the puddles on the right-hand portion of the road. So do use caution if you're planning on heading out at any time soon. And we told you this earlier, but just a reminder, if you were expecting anyone traveling through Orlando International Airport, obviously you know by now that's not happening at the moment. They closed commercial flights at 8 p.m. tonight, and Tiffany Teasley was there and filed this report.
We can see Orlando International Airport is pretty much deserted. That's because all commercial flights were suspended as of 8 o'clock this evening, and now the airport is shut down. You can see they've already covered the kiosks here, and they are in hurricane preparedness mode. You can see all the cancellations here at the Southwest Terminal. These are from earlier in the day. Officials tell me more than 200 flights have been canceled today, 124 arrivals and 73 departures. So again, officials urging people not to come to the airport because there's simply no point. Everything has been shut down. They're trying to regain operations by at least Saturday, and they're telling people not to come to the airport because it is not a shelter. If you are stranded at the airport, they're directing people to Odyssey Middle School on Buena Vista. Reporting from OIA tonight, Tiffany Teasley, Fox 35 News.
Though if you got to be stranded at an airport, you know what I'm saying, with a nice hotel and all that other stuff, OIA is not a bad place to be.
Right. Stay with us. We're going to be back with more coverage of Hurricane Matthew fast approaching Central Florida right after this.
We are wishing everybody that is in Florida the very best. We're wishing they stay safe. You guys are watching the Fox 10 News Now stream, part of fox10phoenix.com. When there is breaking news happening, you know we're streaming it. You know we will stream it. So last 10 hours we've been on this here for you, covering this extensive storm that is about to hit Florida. You know, like I was saying, let me hit this other shot here for you. You can see winds picking up. Right now, winds, Hurricane Matthew, when they come to West Palm area in Florida, it's going to be 130 miles per hour. And like I was saying to some of my coworkers today, you know, a lot of people out there are probably thinking about their homes, maybe their boats. But you know what you really got to think about is your family. If you could get your family out, you have something. Even though you might lose your home, even though you might lose your boat, you still have something. You have your family. Once you lose members of your family, well, then you don't have anything. So that is my motivation and inspiration for you all this evening watching this breaking news event. We're continuing to give you guys the very latest video feeds that we have coming in. You guys are all watching the Fox 10 News Now stream, part of fox10phoenix.com. A reminder, when breaking news happens, we're probably streaming it.
Hurricane Matthew continuing right here on Fox 35.
Yeah, the Weather Center is getting extremely busy at this point. Let's check in with Glenn Richards, standing by. The man's got the coat on now. Now things are getting serious.
Well, it's getting chilly in the studio. So we want to warm up. So, yeah, it looks like, again, the hurricane still going as planned. The core of the hurricane is holding together very well. You can see it's not a second eye wall or anything, but just a more solid band right here. I saw some Facebook questions asking, hey, is that a second eye forming? No, it's only one eye. You can only have one eye there. We have two, but these systems have one. That is it. And this is, again, is just a real thick feeder band that is forming. And we have our own feeder bands up here, and that's the reason why a flood warning was just issued now for portions of Lake County, Seminole County, and the Oviedo area, also northwestern Orange County, picking up already over 5 inches of rain due to just a few of these bands that have been moving ashore. You can see how they still continue to move ashore. This will continue on and off all night tonight. At times the rain will ease up. You'll just get some lighter rain, but then at times it'll get very, very heavy, especially across the eastern side of town. Now look at this, wave after wave of rain. Little break right here, but there's still more even building offshore. So it is weakening somewhat, of course, as it goes farther inland to the west, out through Sumter County and Lake County, but it's still raining in Leesburg and Bushnell and Astatoula. But the heavier pockets now extend from Walt Disney World to Windermere, north and west of Orlando, up towards Lake Apopka, Castleberry, Longwood, also into Lake Mary and Sanford, and then just some lighter showers currently in Oviedo. Again, here's our live radar, the latest sweep. You can see this heavy rain showing up in the red right here again on the western end of Oviedo out into Winter Springs, extending, as I mentioned, through Lake Mary, Longwood, and then eventually up through Sanford, and then just to the east of Orange City. Look at the totals now. We've already seen over 3 to 5 inches in this dark green stripe right there through Volusia and also through Seminole County and extending back over towards the coastline, about 1 to 1.5 inches of rain across eastern Orange County. This is for additional rainfall, not taking into account what's going on right now. Expecting anywhere from around 8 to 10 inches across Volusia County. Looking at right now about 6 to 7 inches. That number's actually come down a little bit in Brevard County. You probably wonder why. Well, remember, if the center is going to come in right around here, there will be a lot of rain, of course, just north of the center, but it's all these bands up to the north of it that continue to pummel this area. So this is going to grow quite a bit. And then, of course, as you go further out to the west and southwest, the rainfall totals really do drop off down to about 2 to 3 inches. So right now, Hurricane Matthew, 130 mile per hour winds. Now, you know, if, a week or so ago I said we'd have a hurricane with 130 mile an hour winds sitting right off our coast, we'd be like, holy mackerel. And we still are holy mackerel to some extent on this. But remember, earlier it was at 145. So it has come down a little bit. And we are hopeful that as we approach the next advisory, that we'll find the winds holding at about 130 or maybe even coming down a little bit. We just don't want to see them go back up into that 140 and 145 range, because that does make a world of difference when you can take away 15 miles per hour worth of damage. That is actually exponentially a tremendous amount of damage. Here's a look at our wind forecast showing as we get towards 2 o'clock in the morning, the main core will already be north of West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach is at its nearest point to Matthew at this hour. So by 2 a.m., it will be approaching the Brevard County coastline. That's when the main core of wind is still going to be picking up. Again, this has been revised. This continues to be updated. That's our job here, of course, as a local station, is to take a look at what the Hurricane Center is showing, pass that on to you. We're all on the same page with that, but then to also look a little bit deeper locally into our own area. And so we're looking at Brevard County, for example. At 5 o'clock in the morning, you will be picking up your strongest winds. Again, as long as the center stays just offshore, and based on our latest computer model run, the center will be just offshore, not officially actually making landfall along the Brevard County coastline. We would still have winds of around 70 miles an hour across eastern Orange and eastern Seminole and eastern Osceola County, but then the winds would really drop off dramatically down around Kissimmee and also into Orlando and Sanford, possibly down to about 45 to 50 miles per hour, with some 40 mile an hour winds farther out to the west. As we head towards around 8 a.m., it looks like the center will be just a little bit farther north, just offshore still. Western eye wall would be affecting the Cape and southern Volusia County. In and around Orlando, still near maximum winds, still winds around 50 to 70, but on the east side of town, again, you're looking at the 70 mile an hour wind range right here in southern Volusia, eastern Seminole, extreme eastern Orange County, basically up and down the St. Johns River Basin. Winds will just begin to really ramp up at 7 to 8 a.m. up in Flagler County. If you live out in Lake County, you will also be at your peak winds, but your winds at that time would only be about 30 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour. That is it. Again, we're going to see a dramatic drop in the winds as you go farther inland. And that's really the big thing. And Brooks has been really talking about this, and he's back there again looking at some of the other models right now. And it really goes to show, as you look back down into the Bahamas at the history of the system, the winds on the western side of this hurricane, there's not much there. I mean, it's strong, but it's not 100 miles per hour. It drops off very, very quickly. Then as we go through the latter part of the morning and early afternoon, then we're looking at winds still around 70 miles per hour back across Flagler County, also into Volusia County, but the real powerful winds, the 100 mile per hour plus winds, they would be off the shoreline as the center begins to pull away, and the winds would already start to ease up a little bit in Metro Orlando. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the weather will already start to improve. So basically what we've done is we've pushed this up a little bit in our timing. Instead of it continuing through the afternoon and through a good chunk of the evening, notice by 7 o'clock, the center is already up to the east of Jacksonville and even east of Georgia, moving up towards Savannah, while our weather will greatly improve by 7 o'clock in the evening based on this latest computer model run. We'll see again, the Hurricane Center is digesting this same type of information, and they're going to input that into their official forecast that comes out here in a little bit. And of course, we'll be following that forecast, but right now I do believe they'll probably be boosting up those times a little bit too, moving things a little bit faster. So here's the way the radar looks right now. Again, here's the main core. Again, you also see a little bit of dry air. There's also a reconnaissance plane that flew through this thing a little while ago, had a drop sound go down, and they said, oh, there's some dry air in there. And there is some dry air. Look what the dry air is doing. It's kind of messing up, again, this eye of the hurricane. Now, granted, we're looking at the eye or the center of the hurricane through all of this rain, so it's kind of hard to see the back edge of it. But we're getting a pretty good picture that, again, there is some dry air near the eye. So, again, that on its own is keeping it from expanding and getting much stronger. Again, on the wider view, you can see the lightning strikes. There's a little bit near the core, some way offshore, but right now nothing over land. So Bob and Sunny looks like the main threat with this system will continue to be the heavy rain. The flood warning does continue across Lake and Seminole and also through Orange and western Volusia County. Already, Bob and Sunny, 5 inches of rain has come down.
Glenn, we appreciate it. Thank you. We'll check back in with Glenn shortly. I'm going to give you 2 reasons to stay off the roads right now. A, we have a hurricane.
Yes,
B,
that's big.
That's big. And B, and that may be because of the hurricane, we had a bad accident.
Right, yeah. I-4 eastbound at OBT, multiple emergency vehicles on scene. After this crash, this camera's actually been shaking quite a bit, surprise from the wind, and we're waiting on information on injuries and how many vehicles are involved, but clearly traffic is stopped. Again, I-4 eastbound at OBT, it looks like actually traffic is kind of eking around the far corner there, the far lane. So do be aware that this is what you will be facing if you're heading out on the roads, because the winds are out there, the heavy rains are out there, and it's very easy to lose control in conditions like these.
Whether you know it or not, you have listened to every word that has come out of this next gentleman's mouth in the last couple of days. Ed Rappaport with the National Hurricane Center, Deputy Director there. We have all been paying very close attention to your analysis and what you have been following with Hurricane Matthew. Your paths have seemingly been right on the money. Has the storm surprised you in any way, and do you expect any surprises later on tonight?
Well, we're not expecting any surprises, and thank you for the kind words. But we all know that that forecasting hurricanes is not perfect, and we're doing pretty well with track, and we actually did pretty well so far with the intensity. At this stage, the expectation is that the center will continue to move about as forecast over the last couple days and gradually draw towards the coast for your viewers. Fortunately, if we can keep that center offshore, the strongest winds are on the right side, just offshore, that'd be good news. But it's going to be close enough to the coast, even if it is slightly offshore, that hurricane force winds will impinge on the land areas for your viewers.
Ed, we know that conditions can change fairly quickly in situations like this, and people are always comparing storms to ones that have passed and trying to judge the intensity of what we may experience by things we've already gone through. Is there any way to compare, and I know they're always sort of different situations, but as far as intensity is concerned and what you're seeing right now, any way to compare to some of the other strong storms we've seen move through this area in years past?
It's been a long time since you've had a storm, at least in Orlando, inland, of any kind of intensity like this. At the coast, we've had similar storms, but it's been a long time. Hurricane David, way back in the 70s, was one that took a similar track and similar intensity. But that's going to be before probably most of your viewers remember or don't remember that because it was before their time. What I do want to tell people is that whatever intensity we say is the estimate, people always come back afterwards and say, we had no idea. We couldn't imagine that it was going to be anything like this. You said it was Category 1. It had to be Category 3. That's because people are unfamiliar with what the kinds of winds are, what they're really like when you talk about sustained hurricane force winds. In this case, those winds are going to be driving a storm surge across the shoreline, which is our greatest concern. So we need to have people away from the coast.
And I got a couple of things. It's sort of a two-part question here. The little bend around a few days from now where it looks like it might come back to Florida, is that something we need to be concerned about? And what about Hurricane Nicole that is out there? Is that going to be, in our forecasted path or no?
Yeah, I don't think we need to be concerned about either of those. Yes, our forecast when you get out to 4 and 5 days from now does show a bend back towards the south. But storms that do that historically have weakened significantly. And in fact, even if that occurs, our forecast is for Matthew to be down to a tropical storm. So nothing like the Category 4, Category 3 hurricane that may be coming close to your area, or that will be coming close to your area in the next 12 to 18 hours. And at this stage, Nicole is not a threat.
And I know you mentioned, and of course this is what our meteorologists are saying as well, that the coastline, that's who's going to have to be most vigilant and prepared. They can see some of the strongest winds, but what are the issues that we'll have to worry about more inland?
Right. I want to emphasize at the coast, of course, there are winds with hurricanes, and that's what people think about first. But it's not the wind, it's the water that kills people. 90% of the deaths in hurricanes are due to water, people drowning in the storm surge or excessive rainfall. And that excessive rainfall often occurs inland. So the concerns we have in the inland areas, particularly as you get to Orlando, is you could still have potentially hurricane-force winds, and that will bring down tree limbs, power outages. It's not safe to drive. And there's also potential, though, for excessive rainfall inland. 5 to 10 inches of rain, potentially as much as 12 inches of rain, so there'll be localized flooding as well.
I keep thinking about the folks out at Caltech. They get a lot of TV time whenever there's an earthquake out there in California. You're getting a lot of TV time probably right now when there's a hurricane. Anything you'd like to pass along to people, maybe about the intensity of this storm and how surprisingly strong it is at this part of the season?
Well, I'd like everybody to take this seriously, and as a personal note, I have children who live up in Central Florida, Orlando area, and I've had them move to safer ground. So this is a serious concern, and I hope everybody else believes it is as well.
And this may be wishful thinking, Ed. What are the chances at this point that we'll see a drastic change that would mean much less of an impact here in Central Florida?
I think the chances of that kind of a change are close to zero. We may get lucky and have the center remain slightly offshore. If that's lucky, that will just mean that it won't be quite as bad along the shoreline. But if the center gets up to the coast, then we're talking about potentially Category 3 winds, and as we've said before, a 7 to 10 or 11 foot storm surge, which can be devastating to the coastal areas.
Something tells me, Ed, maybe the best forecaster in the world is the people who get to live next to your kids. They got, Ed Rappaport's kids, yeah, they just put some suitcases in the trunk. They're getting out of Dodge. I think we better follow suit. We're gonna draft off of them up I-4. We're out of here.
Yeah, I've got the neighbors looking at my house to see when the shutters go up.
That's very cool. Lucky people to have someone so informed right near them. Ed Rappaport, we truly appreciate your time tonight and your information for our viewers from the National Hurricane Center. We'll try to check back with you as the hours tick on here.
Thank you. Best wishes.
Thank you.
We actually are going to check back in with him in about an hour and 15 minutes when the 11 o'clock path comes out.
It's going to be an interesting night here at Fox 35, and for all of you at home, stay safe, stay inside, and we'll be back with more coverage of Hurricane Matthew right after this.
You are watching coverage from our sister station in Orlando, Fox 35. They're going wall to wall with this as we're getting close to Hurricane Matthew hitting Florida. And what you got to worry about is not the wind, but the water. That's what that analyst thought was going to be the major problem there. Mary Kate's here as well, as she'll be taking over in about 15 minutes. Mary Kate, what are you thinking about this storm?
Well, obviously, like what he was saying was there's no chances of it getting any
it's
better.
Not, yeah. It is going to hit Florida.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know that you've been up here watching the videos. It obviously doesn't look like this looks bad.
Yeah.
And that would be very scary to be there right now, and I hope that everyone took shelter and is okay. Like I asked you earlier, what do you think the difference is between, the shelter and just staying in your house? I'm assuming these shelters are probably big schools.
Yeah, big schools, and I'm thinking, even better windows. They could really hunker down there. You just don't want to get flooded out, too.
Right.
And, a lot of these people, if they haven't left yet, they're in for a rude awakening when major roadways get flooded, and how are they going to get out?
Right, so, I mean, what our weatherman Dave was saying earlier is that people that have lived in Florida for a long time are like, oh, I'm so used to hurricanes, but they don't realize this is not like normal hurricane.
This is going to be a direct hit hurricane, much different. A lot of times these hurricanes will power up in the open waters, and then by the time it hits land, it's not as rough.
I couldn't imagine we're both from the Midwest. The worst we've had is like a few days off of school from bad snowstorms.
Sure.
But I've never experienced anything like this. Have you?
Never, and I never want to, and I'm just hoping for everybody out there in Florida. If you're listening to this and you're saying to yourself, well, gee, we're still at home. What I'm going to ask you to do, if you're from Florida right now and you're in Florida and you're hearing this, you're hearing Mary Kate and I want you to take your iPad or whatever device you are watching this, get in a car, start driving.
Go to a shelter, because that's what they've been saying all day, and they've been kind of trying to instill almost fear in people so that they can know you're not safe staying home.
Yeah.
Go to a shelter.
Yeah, go somewhere, go inland, just don't hang out right by the coast. You know, if you lose your house, okay. If you lose your boat, okay. Those are things. What happens when you lose a family member?
Yeah, earlier they went to someone live who was saying, oh, this is great fishing weather. You know, I'm getting all the fish right now. No one else is out. You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, because you know what? Your boat could be rocked up on a hard rock and you're done.
Right.
It looks like we're getting more coverage here, and look at this. Now we're going to be going to an accident on a freeway there in Florida as people are trying to leave, but they are really getting a little bit too close now.
Crews are still on the scene. This is west of OBT.
Yeah, it
the
is.
sign is saying.
Look.
Traffic is getting by, we want to mention, but just one lane.
Look just to the left of all of the flashing lights, the farthest left flashing lights, and right underneath that, I believe, is the accident. It looks like it's or is that a sign? Is that a sign, or is it a car on its side? I'm having a hard time because it's so difficult to see with all of the the moisture on the lens. But either way, there's a bad accident right there at I-4 and OBT, and it's not what you want to see when you're trying to get out of town.
No, and the roads, frankly, have been kind of touch and go all night, with sort of changing visibility as these bands move through. Again, another look right now. You can see I-4 at OBT, traffic getting passed in just one lane. But we have no word right now on the number of vehicles involved or the number of people injured. But safe to say, only unless it's absolutely necessary should you be out right now. In fact, as we've been reporting all night, multiple counties have curfews in effect, including Seminole County, which starts tomorrow at 5 a.m. and runs through Saturday at 7 a.m. And there's a curfew in Orange County as well, starting at 10 p.m. tonight and running through 7 a.m. on Saturday as well.
And hopefully those cars that are driving are heading in the absolute opposite direction of where it is we want to go right now, which would be New Smyrna Beach. Our reporter Matt Trezza is there. He is going to be braving a good chunk of the storm in that location, and it looks like he has found himself a nice little place to hide under while the winds start to pick up behind you. How you doing, Matt?
Doing okay, yes. I have mercifully found an awning here that we're kind of hiding under while this kind of passes through the area. But right now, well, the rain has picked up a little bit, but that was only in the last couple of minutes. It had been actually fairly dry, I don't even want to say, for the last about 15 minutes or so. But now I guess we're starting to see another band of the hurricane come through, and so we're seeing the wind and the rain start to pick up. A lot of people here on Flagler Avenue, which is kind of the main strip here in New Smyrna Beach, have heeded the governor's words and boarded up shop like this restaurant here, and they have closed for the night. Normally this place is fairly bustling, but right now it is a ghost town. You can see across the street everything is all kind of boarded up there. There is not a soul in sight aside from us. The only people I've seen out here are police vehicles just patrolling, making sure that everyone is off the streets and either evacuated from the area or safely secured and sheltered inside. We understand that there is a curfew in effect here in Volusia County. It goes from midnight until 7 a.m. And if you are evacuating during that time, if you're leaving the area, police aren't going to stop you. But if you are just hanging out somewhere or loitering in the area, they could